if some people tie who they are so closely to them being a husband, wife, mother, or father, how can they rediscover who they are even though they've been a wife, a mother, father, or husband for so long?
Good question. And I think that's, it's interesting because that is one thing that, I work on with my clients. We look at our self-care assessment, and inside that self-care assessment, we start to look at like, you know, things that they enjoy outside of like those connections, I'll give myself for an example. My kids were very involved in sports, and as those went away, I had to find things that fulfilled my time that I enjoyed that did not involve going to the sporting events or, standing in the stick, or even driving the distances that we did with the sporting events. And so I, have created this a self-care assessment that we kind of look at all areas of our life, the spiritual piece, the emotional piece, the relationship piece, and also just interest inventories, trying to get to know who we are, outside of all of our roles, because even as employee, we work for someone, and so that role maybe disappears, and we're like, who am I outside of my job? And so trying to discover what we enjoy outside of all these roles.
It's like when you're asking someone, who are you outside of your job? Well, I don't know. I've been working my whole life. When your children go off to school, who are you? I don't know. It's like some people, they either ignore, avoid, or totally forget that their children eventually will move out.
Mhm.
Right? They will
Yep.
have to hopefully retire someday. I remember this woman, she shared, it was an interview I was watching, and someone asked her, do you see yourself getting married? And the person's like, well, I don't know. I just don't see it because and they gave their reason. And then they asked them, the next question was, you're working all these hours, 10 hours, 12-hour long days. Do you see a life where you're not working? And the person said no. So now the third question the person asked was, you don't see yourself with anyone. You can't see a life without you working. What happens if you were to lose that job? It was like their world was coming to an end because, to your point, their identity is a worker above everything else, above being a wife, above being a mother, above being a girlfriend, whomever. And that may be fine for a lot of people. But it's interesting how many people don't think about life outside of the external things, my house,
Mhm.
my car, my job. Like when you ask them, to your point, when you ask them to look inside, it's like, I've never done that before.
Right.
Why do you think so many people haven't been able to create an identity that isn't dependent on outside factors?
That's another good question. And again, we're human. We're human beings. And so we and there is this belief system that like we're worthy. This is how we place our worth on ourselves is by our roles, our jobs, like if I'm a good employee, I work all these hours or whatever, so it's our belief systems, kind of how society has kind of put in place, but then also we're human beings. And so our roles as a mom, a wife, all those are connected to other people. And so we kind of connect to that because we like connection.
You mentioned that you work with women. Do you find that women struggle with that a lot, considering that people view them as nurturers and givers?
Yes. Yes. Yes, a lot of the women that I have worked with, I've in the life disruptions that, because grief can also follow. Like I have a couple of my clients that have gone through a divorce, And so again, that identity, even though they have maybe requested the divorce, they're wondering, they come to me going, I don't know why I'm so lonely or sad, and I don't understand. I'm like, it's still a grief. You are grieving this marriage that you anticipated, but then also your identity has shifted. You are no longer somebody's wife. And so who are you? And so, yes, I've seen a lot of the women because again, we are naturally caregivers and nurturers. And so that is tends to be our roles is taking care of other people. And we take care of other people more than we take care of ourselves.